Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is November 11th. I'm sorry for missing Friday's episode. And today we're going to be talking about crypto prices. I mean, where else are we going to start? We're also going to be talking about the staking summit that took place in Bangkok. We're going to be talking about rETH and how all that's looking. And we're going to be talking about the GMC's election, how that's finished, and a whole lot more. So this episode is going to be jam-packed. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so where else are we going to start today other than the price? And this has just been an absolutely astronomical, like last week pretty much. And I think it's blown a lot of expectations out of the water. And for those of you who are watching, like on the screen, you can see the Bitcoin chart. And last week it was at around 66,000. That feels like so long ago now. It feels like a completely different world. And right now the price is around 85,000 for Bitcoin. That is absolutely mind-boggling how much it has gained in that time. For ETH, in that time, it's actually outperformed BTC. So if we have a look at the price of ETH in that time, a week ago it was 2,357 or thereabouts. That was the low, and right now it's at 3,300. So it's up nearly $1,000. And the ratio, of course, it went down to 0.03465, and then it went all the way up to 0.0411. Since then it's come down a little bit, but right now it's at the 0.039 range, so it's still up from where it was a week ago, but it's slowly, it shot up a lot. It's retraced a little bit, and now it looks like it's slowly trying to head back up again. So those prices are looking absolutely amazing. For RPL as well, we were down at $8.48 just a week ago, and yesterday we went up to $12.68. Right now we're at $11.88, and the prices are looking like they are going to be going up. The trend is just looking incredible right now, and it's not just in the crypto markets, but in the ETF market. You can see here that Bitcoin's ETF overtook gold as BlackRock's in the BlackRock ETF prices. If we have a look at the far side for BTC first, and we look at ETH, some of those inflows last week were gargantuan, like truly gargantuan. On the 7th, we had inflows of $1.4 billion. $1.4 billion. And on Friday, we had inflows of about $300 million. And on Wednesday, it was around $600 million. So those numbers were just absolutely gargantuan. Like I said, I just don't have the words to just say how big it was. And then for ETH as well, it's performing a lot more strongly. It had 3 big days on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of 50 million, 80 million, 86 million. And that 86 million day, I think, was the second or third biggest day for flows that we've had so far. I think today and this week, so right now, since the ETH ETFs have started, we've had an outflow overall, negative flows of $324 million. So that's the $3+ billion $3.1 billion that has come out of Grayscale. So some of that has been eaten up by BlackRock and Fidelity and Bitwise and the others. But overall, there's been more outflows into the ETH ETFs than there have been inflows. Now, I think that this is the last week of the ETH outflows, and I think that we get enough inflows this week to fix that, basically, because the sentiment around crypto right now is just it's getting really, really positive, let's just say. So here I want to share this thread with you that I really liked, and this is a thread from Yano, and Yano says that there's 4 phases of a bull market, and he says, buckle up. Sorry, my mouse is being not good. Yano works with Blockworks. He's the co-founder of Blockworks. So he says there's 4 phases of the bull market. Buckle up. We've just entered the most fun phase, and this is phase 3. So he says, stage 1 is the rebirth. That's when the prices have crashed, and we've kind of bottomed, and then you slowly start to rise up. And the prices can go up 2-3x, but the problem is that they went so low that people don't even realize that they've gone up so much. And he said that this started in January 2023 and it went all the way up to January 2024. And of course, that's when the ETF was approved. And then he says stage 2 is excitement. So this is people who are still in crypto and they're the ones who start to feel excitement and seeing what's going on, with a lot of people who've gotten washed out. And he says this started in February 2024 and it ended last week. So he says some coins go near all-time highs, some do hit all-time highs, but there's a few rising. Narratives tend to last like multiple weeks or months. So what happens is that, as that narrative's pumping, then, those coins are going up. But otherwise, no one's still like contacting you. Everything's kind of quiet still. And then, you are nervous and excited. You don't know what's going to happen. Is this, up? Is it not up? Like, what's going on? The next stage, he says, this is the stage that we entered last week with the election victory of Donald Trump. Now, he says that this is euphoria. This is a beautiful time. Everyone's making money. People who are in crypto, they're making money, but the grifters haven't come in yet. There's still some while before that happens. And what happens is that most coins kind of start hitting all-time highs and passing their all-time highs or performing really strongly. And he says now the narratives that would last for months, they start lasting weeks instead. And they people start to see pumps happening in different coins, but kind of like in tandem, like on day one, on week one, coin A will pump, on week 2 coin B, and so on, and then it kind of loops around and they take turns pumping. So he says everyone's now a genius, and they've got ideas on a new narrative, and there'll be new coins that are coming up, and some of them are going to move up really fast, and this is the time to like figure out your trade-offs. So if you're trading every day, then it's going to impact your job and your mental health will suffer. If you're just building, then you're going to miss out on some big trades. So everything has trade-offs, and like understand those. So he says stage 3 is where things start getting really hot. People realize they were offside, so they're all buying back in now. All those people who had left, they weren't in position. And here he says that hiring starts to get competitive. Crypto gets talked about on the mainstream news channels again. So these are like financial news channels. They'll start talking about it. He says you'll start to hear about like your friends contacting you and talking to you about crypto again, and then you will reach. And then he says around mid 2025, so around 7, 8, 9 months from now, that's when things are going to start getting really weird. And he says this will be the disconnection stage. Now, the disconnection stage, he describes it as saying like massive Fortune 500 companies are going to start buying BTC, athletes, music artists, actors, they're going to start getting involved. Due diligence is going to go out the window. VCs are going to throw up money at everything that moves. And he says this is how people start to think it's going to go up forever. You'll start hearing talk about the super cycle, but the prices are just going to get really high. And this is when you'll start seeing sports arenas being named after crypto and all this kind of stuff. So that is basically where the peak is going to happen, and that period is going to come fast. So yeah, that's what it looks like. According to Yano's like milestones, like his schedule, the way he thinks things are going to go. It looks like we've got another 6 to 9 months basically of strong price increases, tokens hitting all-time highs though, if they haven't already, and then really, really good things happening after that. So that is really exciting. Okay, let's move on to some rocket pool news now, where some exciting stuff was happening here as well. So the team, as you all know, are in Bangkok, and they are in Bangkok for the staking summit and DevCon, which is the Ethereum's biggest conference. And with the staking summit, the team actually had a keynote spot, like the first opening spot of the day. They were talking about the roadmaps to growth for Rocket Pool. So Langer spoke. He talked about Saturn 0, he talked about Saturn 1, and he talked about Saturn 2. He kind of explained what's going to happen at each of those stages. He explained how the RPL fee switch is going to be turned on. He explained how we are giving ourselves the capacity to grow massive amounts. However, we actually got some very interesting pieces of news here where Saturn 2 got a date on the timeline. So we know that Saturn 1, where the team's looking at going for July 2025. Well, they're actually saying that they think they can get Saturn 2 out by Q4 of 2025, which is actually really amazing, because if you look at what Yana was saying just a little while ago, that might be around the time of peak market euphoria and disconnect, and the timing couldn't be better, basically, for RPL at that point, with Rocket Pool's growth. So. Yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff happening here. The talk at a staking summit was really fun. We got some pictures here of the booth, what it looked like at staking summit. Apparently, it was kind of a small booth, but that was okay. There was foot traffic, and people came and talked to the team. And here there's some videos and pictures of the team at in Bangkok. And if you want to see pictures and stuff about the conference, the best place to look is in the conferences thread, where people are posting information about meeting up and posting information about different things that they can be doing. And yeah, definitely go and check it out and get the information that you want. And then here, Jasper noticed as well that Kevin Owocki, at one of his talks, kind of was talking about like the different things that that make him him. So he's talking about how he's a Gitcoin co-founder, Greenpill co-founder, and other builders with other things, but he actually stakes with Rocket Pool. So that was actually really cool to see that there are people in the community who've got really good reputations, who've been around for a long time, are kind of giving shout outs to Rocket Pool there. So that was really nice to see. Let's talk about rETH. What else are we going to talk about, right? Like, so rETH, of course, is the best liquid staking token on Ethereum. Of course, we're going to be saying that. But we got some actually really interesting news, well, not news, but developments about rETH over the weekend. One of the really great things that happened was this 4,700 ETH deposit that came in. So we finally got to see a whale splash, and that looked really good to see. That was able to actually clear up some of the validated queues that we had. So Rocket Pool, the rETH, the APR was going up. However, there's some interesting things happening with APR, as Mig shared here. He showed that Lido was at 2.98%. Rocket Pool's rETH was at 2.92%, so it's climbing really well. However, EtherFi was at 3.39%, and the reason for that is because they've got like incentives going on, and this restaking yield that goes on top of it. Frax, of course, does only part of their ETH is staked, and the rest of it is doing like DeFi stuff, and then Stay does at 2.82% as well. So that is, I think, one of the reasons why people are sticking with EtherFi as their LST LRT of choice, is because they're seeing that it's getting a high yield. If we go back to the deposit pool here, we can see that the numbers have kind of been strange in that on November 6th, we had 6 ETH inflow, on the 7th, 72 ETH, on the 8th, 4,728, and then 71, 75, and 15. And the reason why the flows into the deposit pool haven't been that strong is because of the rETH being below peg. Now, here we had this user who got their rETH that they were using in farming tokens, I think, and then that was going to get sold. A whole lot of those kind of sales happened. So even though we got that 4,800 ETH deposit into the deposit pool, the secondary market, there was still some buying and selling happening, which meant that we still have this discount. And the discount as it stands right now, actually, let me show you the most recent discount. Hold on a second. Sorry, I should have had this loaded. If we see, no one's actually called it there here. Yeah. So earlier on today, we were at a 0.395% discount a few hours ago. So that is the reason why people are just buying their rETH on the secondary market instead of depositing it into the deposit pool itself. And hopefully, we'll see more deposits happening into the deposit pool itself, so we can get some of those validators going through the queue. Now, I put this tweet out about the rETH rewards getting close to matching the Lido ones. And this was a screenshot from the MetaMask staking portfolio. And that was looking really strong. Of course, that was because of the validated queue, but also because of the dynamics about the rETH, and the 5% commission this period. One of the things that was really interesting was that Mountain Bee here said that, we as a community really need to pick our narratives that we are going to push when we are talking about our ETH. Like, it's good and proper to, talk about all these different things, but if we kind of pushed specific narratives that could like do the best to land with a bigger audience, about going beyond the yield, about how there's things that are more important than just the yield. And of course, the Lido, we can't really compete with them in the yield. We can't really compete with EtherFi in the yield either. So really pushing other things would be really important. And Val here actually made an interesting point where he said that we really need to do a good job of making links between why decentralization is important. He said that it's not decentralized governance is important, it's decentralized governance ensures two wallets can't steal your money. So there's this idea that if things are not decentralized, the areas of control are tight, and then really bad things can happen. So that's really interesting. I think that's going to be a discussion that we as a community kind of that we have over the next few weeks and months. And of course, with the incubator finishing and now going into the review cycle, I think that's going to be an important discussion to have there. Okay, and next there was CoinGecko actually have a liquid staked ETH section on their page, and our ETH is not actually mentioned on there, which was unusual. So I think what will happen is that we need the Mav to get in touch with CoinGecko and get our ETH added back to the ETH stake tokens. Okay, Jasper actually had this really interesting thread about how we can protect the rETH peg. So he says, exiting on peg is a crucial component of any LST. This poses a challenge in decentralized staking systems, which cannot exit validators at will to meet unstaking demand. He says, for Rocket Pool, I may have an equitable solution. Let's dive in and improve rETH. So Jasper says that currently the only way to burn rETH when there's ETH in the deposit pool to do so. If the deposit pool is empty, like it currently is, then users are forced to exit through the open market, and then you get a discount, which is on the actual asset value. So he says, however, when there's a discount, then there's a ARB that's possible, and the ARB requires you to exit your validator and bundle an exit with Flash Loan to buying 24 rETH on the secondary market and then burning it into the deposit pool. And this allows the node operator to close the discount. However, this system relies on attentive operators. So it says he proposed two additions to Rocket Pool to make the peg more consistent. One is a priority rETH burn queue, and opt-in and exitable node operator set. So says with the right incentive structure, this could be equitable approach to peg maintenance without centralized parties. He says you can split the ARB rewards between node operator, rETH holders, and the node set willing to be exited equitably. So this is rETH holders likely to be content with their full ETH, and node operators exiting need recompense for gas and time, and the set needs to be needs passive incentives to join. So then he's talking about what the advantages of this are. That rETH is a better product overall, and it has low risk exit regardless of DEX value. And then there's other advantages as well. And with disadvantages, added protocol complexity, which of course is not good. And then we have some open questions, such as how do we design this? How much value do we direct to each faction? How do we incentivize the exiting of nodes? And other things as well. Val actually had some interesting feedback about this, saying that the ARB is technically usable right now, but people aren't really doing it as far as we can tell. And I think there are a couple of reasons for why it's not happening right now. One of them is that people don't know how to bundle those flash loans. And second thing is that the discount isn't steep enough that people are willing to go out and learn about that. And then finally, of course, if they are exit, then they don't know when they can get back in. So I think that might be making it more difficult for some people to get in again as well. So yeah, those are the reasons there. Okay, if we go back to the Discord, we can see that, with that huge splash that came in, we were able to clear up some of the waiting validators. So the amount of ETH that was deposited actually had enough there for, I think, 120 validators or maybe more than that. So then the community started talking about how we could, get all that processed. And because with a deposit, the maximum that you can clear with a deposit, I think, is 2 validators per deposit. I think the way it works, up to 90. I'm not sure of the exact mechanisms, but anyway, here there was Hululo did a partial deposit queue clear, so he was able to run a script basically, and then Pateris actually went out and did a better clearing of the queue. So our ETH in the deposit pool went away, and we were able to get the validators up and running. However, since then, the number of validators has started increasing again, and we can see that here, we're at 177 validators in the queue now, and we just need those big ETH deposits to come into the deposit pool to kind of clear those out. Val actually did a really cool Dune dashboard here, where it shows you like how long the queue is, and also how people are, how long it's taking people to get through the queue. So here the queue length is currently, as you can see, around 177, but it had peaked earlier at around I want to say, 270, and then that big deposit cleared us down to 133. So it took out 140 validators pretty much. But the queue length so far has been the most anyone's waited is about 7 days from starting their validator to actually getting it staking. But that number is like trending up right now. And with a big deposit, it'll go back down and then it'll trend up, and that's what we're going to be keeping an eye on. But I think what we really need, of course, is those deposits to be coming through, and hopefully we'll start getting those soon. Now, another thing that happened this weekend is that the GMC election finished, and this finished last night on Sunday night, and the new GMC slate has been agreed upon. So the 9 members who have been selected are Dr. Doofus, me, Sleety, Steely, Looking for Owls, Scuzzle, Lee, Kevster, Destroyer, and Ken. Sadly, Snowcones, Ramana, Lenov Tower, and Dondo didn't make the cut. But this roster, I think, is going to be really great to see in the next GMC round. And the previous round, I think, went really well, and we've got a good continuation of members. I think there's 5 members from the previous round who are coming through, and we've got 4 new members who are coming in as well. And I think that they're all going to do a really good job with that. Now, this is when the vote ended last night at 9:45, and then Doofus came through, and then there was just some community discussion about the votes. So if you want to go and have a look at that, you're welcome to do that. Talking of the GMC's round 18 finished a couple of days ago on November 7th, and round 19 has already started. We've not had any deposits coming through for that yet. With around 18, I think we had like 6 grant applications. We had a few retrospective applications as well, and no bounty applications this time. So the new GMC now are going to start discussing these and working on getting those approved or declined. Okay, so one thing that was really interesting that happened over the weekend was there was some shenanigans going on with the voting. So as the vote reached quorum, then you could kind of see what the membership was going to look like. Some members who had a large voting power kind of started to play around with their votes, giving different powers to different people, depending on who they wanted into the GMC. One of those people was Patches. Another of those people was me. Sorry about that. But I think Patches had, a few people he had in mind who he really wanted to be on the GMC, who he thought would be really good for the GMC based on the work that he's seen them do in the Rocket Pool community. And, Patches is the second biggest delegate in the community, so he was able to kind of move some of his vote power around to make sure those people kind of got into those positions. For me, I wanted to give preference to the existing GMC members who showed active interest that they wanted to come back for another round. I was giving more of my vote power to those people to try to make sure that because they all worked so well and they worked so hard that I think it was a good idea that they stay in there. But there was a lot of playing going on. There was a lot of moving around of votes going on, and the whole community was kind of discussing this about whether or not this is the right way to do things. Like, is this voting in good faith? Is it not voting in good faith? It got kind of philosophical there for a little while. So I'll let you all go and read this kind of takes back and forth. But yeah, so what ended up happening was, there were some ideas that started coming through about the voting and the limitations of the voting, because technically, Patches was was voting within the rules of the vote. However, I think some people felt like it was not in good spirits. So what ended up happening was here that the discussion, like Patches himself and myself as well, we kind of talked about maybe it's time to change how the IMC and GMC members are selected. And then Scuzzle had created this thread in June talking about different methodologies basically for selecting IMC and GMC members. And this thread was resurfaced, and people are kind of sharing their ideas again about whether or not we should change the way the votes happen. So that might be something that you hear about in the coming weeks and months, about there being changes to the way the voting is for GMC and IMC members. Okay, next we had Halululo here, who actually came up with some stats of the community, and I asked him to run two scripts, one to show the number of users coming into Discord every day and putting in at least one message, and then the second one was for the number of messages. So here the unique user count had actually bottomed in around September, below 100 unique people coming in a day, and then as we got up to Saturn 0, that peaked at around 250 a day, which was a nice increase that we had, but then after that it's gone kind of back down a little bit. So those are some really interesting numbers to keep an eye on, which is why I asked Hululo to run them. However, those people who are around were actually getting more active. So in the daily message count in the Rocket Pool Discord actually hit the second highest numbers of the year, and that was because of election night. I think there were a lot of people talking a lot around the election stuff, but that just shows that there was some activity that was coming back into the community. Next, we have news of Coin Bureau. So for those of you who don't know, Coin Bureau is one of the biggest crypto channels on YouTube, and they actually mentioned Rocket Pool by name in their most recent Ethereum Pectra upgrade, and they talked about it in context of Max EB, like the EIP 7251. And that is the one to make your validators that you can have it up to 2048 ETH in a validator instead of just 32. And they said that the large node operators such as Lido, Rocket Pool, and Coinbase will be able to consolidate some of their validators and make the Ethereum network operate a bit more efficiently. And what's really funny is that Rocket Pool actually might not be implementing Max EB for a while. So that was kind of funny, but it was mentioned by name. This is, I think, the third or fourth time, as far as I know, that Coin Bureau have mentioned Rocket Pool by name. So that's actually really cool. But the thing to pay attention here is that hopefully, people are going to start paying more attention to Rocket Pool, especially with the fee switch, and hopefully we'll be getting some more mind share coming onto the protocol because of that. Now, the video itself about Pectra was okay. For those of you who are deep down in the weeds like we are, then you'll know all of the stuff. There's not that much new in there, but if you want to watch the video, you're welcome to do that. The Rocket Pool mentions around 17 minutes and 30 seconds. Okay, let's move on to some staking news now. And the staking news that really had the Rocket Pool community talking over the weekend was Puffer. So Schifrin was the first to share the news. He said Puffer is imploding right now. Puffer, for those of you who don't know, is a rival staking service, liquid staking service. I think it's an LRT. I'm not sure, but they got quite a little bit of mind share in the last months with their airdrop campaign and stuff. But Schifrin was sharing that there's weird stuff going on, and he was talking about their Discord. So it turns out a whole bunch of the people in their community were exited from their validators, and they didn't know what was happening, and they were confused about it. And with Puffer, you have to buy something called execution tickets. VTs, validator tickets, in order to get your proposals done and stuff. You have to buy those tickets to be eligible for that. And I think what happens is that you buy the validator ticket, and that money goes to people who, buy mint Puff ETH, and then whatever your validator gets as a reward for a proposal, you just get to keep it. So if it's 100 ETH, then you keep it, and you just pay the median, I think, or whatever I think is the median of as buying the validator ticket instead of paying, the mean or whatever it is. no, you pay the mean instead of the median, something like that. But anyway, Jasper here had a lot to say about it over the weekend, and he put out a whole bunch of tweets about it as well. So he says, force exiting home validators, contributing to an LST without warning is so incredibly bearish and evil. He says at Rocket Pool, we literally can't do that. We have 16th validators that can run indefinitely if they want to, permissionless entry and exit, no surprise exits. And there was a bit of discussion that kind of came up with this. So here we had Dimi from Lido saying that this 16th validator can actually hold hostage the delegated 16 ETH. This is also not ideal in my opinion. He says, especially for the rETH holders. Jasper says, agreed. Fortunately, they are a very tiny chunk of the total validators. He said, I propose the idea to have an opt-in incentivized exitable nodes and an rETH burn queue. And there was some more discussion that came up here as well. But if we go back to the Rocket Pool community, there was actually a lot of back and forth about what it means to be able to exit validators. So Val here, for example, is giving information. He says it's worth noting that NodeSet also planned to be able to exit validators for liquidity reasons. So what happened is Puff ETH, I think, went off peg, it depegged downwards. So they were exiting validators in order to bring it back to peg. And here, yeah, Valdov says this as well. So he says NodeSet will plan to do this, and they did warn and said that it would be random, though not far ahead. And he says the validated tickets and the ability to withdraw much bigger problems. So the people in Puffer, they are stuck now for, I think, for 6 weeks or something like that. And the validated tickets they had, they won't actually be able to use those again unless they spin up new validators. However, if Puff ETH is at a discount on the secondary market, then they're never going to bring up new validators. So there's actually some really interesting dynamics going on there. Anyway, here then Noshua as well also asked Jasper, he says, do you feel the same way about NodeSet being able to exit people? And he says, without warning, yes, for sure. But based on what Val said, it sounds like, NodeSet users have been warned. And yet NodeSet users, I'm a NodeSet user, a node operator, and I have been warned that in certain situations, like, when liquidity is needed, if there's a big exit requested, then validators will be turned off using their exit keys, and those who get turned off, they will they'll lose the gas they put in. Basically, if they were able to recoup their costs or not in that time, will be besides the point pretty much. But here, I actually then as people dug into what the Puffer's docs say, they give 3 ways in which a validator could be exited. So it says if the Beaconchain balance falls below the DAO's threshold, its module was slashed and due to an AVS violation, or it consumes all of its validators' tickets without renewal. There's no mention here about exiting to protect its peg or liquidity on the secondary market. So I think this was the reason why a lot of people then kind of joined Team Jasper and being really upset about it. He says, Val here says, I'm actually moving to Team Jasper now as well. And then here from their Discord, they actually put out some information, because you have to buy the validator ticket. So it says, to support upcoming withdrawals, we'll be exiting a random selection of validators to balance liquidity effectively. This adjustment ensures optimal operations and meets community needs smoothly. Thank you for your understanding and continued support. So this actually happened after the fact. So people had already had their validators exited, and then they put out this message saying that people will be exited. So yeah, there was some strangeness going on there, and then there was some discussion. So Nashua kind of summed up what he thinks has happened. He says, so overall, I think the way to frame this is that Puffer abused the pre-signed exit messages for liquidity after telling people they would only be used in other circumstances. So that's kind of where that went. However, the discussion on Twitter kind of carried on going, and there were ways that people were kind of stuck and they couldn't get their money out, and it wasn't looking good. So here Jasper showed this. He says, as someone involved in Puffer for several months staking multiple validators, this isn't the only place their documentation was not followed. It took me 6 weeks to get the bond returned after a voluntary exit when their doc said it should take 2 to 3 weeks. He said, when I complained about the poor documentation, my personal info from ticket validator key and wallet address was posted by a mod in public group with an attitude. I understand frustrations when people that anyway, yeah, this person just complaining about Puffer and how it's been a bad experience for them. And they shared this in the Daily Gwei Discord to kind of share that experience. So Jasper then actually went and wrote this thread about execution tickets and how he doesn't like that as a system. So he says, I've long been bearish on execution tickets or validator tickets. For LSTs for a variety of reasons. So it's a complex ticket system. It requires the user to accurately price validator tickets and it favors large players. So it says, yeah, Puffer Finance just added a new disappointing one, unbeknownst to many, due to complete lack of reporting in official documentation of blogs. Node operators can be randomly exited to provide liquidity for Puff ETH holders, even if they've spent dozens of ETH to rent large number of VTs. Users were made aware of this only after they were being exited. So here you can see that users were complaining about it in the Puffer Discord. Here, this person put 35 ETH to invest to rent validators. However, this person will have no way to use those funds, since the user must wait in exit and then also wait for users to start minting Puff ETH again to buy VTs again to go live. So this was, a really big hit piece on that whole thing, with screenshots with with receipts, as they say. And the comments here were actually like really interesting. Jasper actually got into some fights basically, so I'm not going to cover that, but I'll let you all read that yourselves. Peter here, who is actually I think the founder of EtherFi, if I remember. I think that's the Peter, or is that the one that works with Geth? Anyway, this person says shitcoins will shitcoin, just another Sunday in crypto land. So yeah. Okay, so more staking news here. We have this update from Beaconchain, who says that they're celebrating the version 2 launch of their dashboard and DevCon, and says that they've got 50% of all version 2 subscriptions, even the yearly plans. So if Beaconchain is part of your daily routines, now is the perfect time to show your support. Use the promo code DevCon24 at checkout. So the reason why I'm covering this on Rocket Fuel is a whole lot of people in our community use Beaconchain to monitor their nodes, and it's getting better, and now it's getting cheaper. So here, 5-day-old Burrito says, how can legacy subscribers profit from this? So he says, upgrade your subscription and then do it there. So that's pretty cool. In some Ethereum news here, we had a bit of a announcement post that of something potentially very big coming up. So here, Justin Drake today said, tomorrow at 5 p.m. on the DevCon mainnet stage, I will unveil my most ambitious initiative to date. For over 1 year, I've been thinking about what a from-scratch redesign of the Ethereum consensus layer would look like. The goal is to suggest a credible strategy to ship what is an extremely ambitious and exciting Beaconchain roadmap, all on responsible timeframe. So after months of gestation alongside researchers and consensus devs, I'm finally ready to publicly present my proposal. It's early days and your participation is key should this new approach to tackling the consensus layer roadmap ever achieve rough consensus. So he says, apologies for the cryptic title redacted on the DevCon schedule. I didn't want to spoil the meme. So a whole lot of people have been talking about this today, kind of speculating what it might look like and how it's going to go. The idea is that this might be a couple of years, if not 3+ years out, because if they're redesigning it and they've only been doing it for a year and the ideas aren't even made to the public yet, it's going to take a long time to get this through the door. But the fact that they've been working on it for a year means that they might have something that could move things along a little bit more quickly. But this is definitely something to kind of pay attention to and see what Justin's going to say. Of course, I have a lot of time for what Justin Drake has to say, so I'm really excited about reading this and, well, maybe watching the talk, even if it's at the right time, and covering it on tomorrow's Rocket Fuel for you all. Okay, next and finally, actually, we have this post from Aya here, and Aya is with the Ethereum Foundation. I think the the manager of the whole thing, kind of, and says that introducing the Ethereum Foundation report of 2024, learn more about the Ethereum Foundation, our recent work, Ethereum's ecosystem of founders, new organizations and policies, and the full report is here. So we're going to have a look at the full report in a second, but here, there's a lot of clarity on what kind of things the EF's been doing, where the money's been going, how much money there is, and some policies that have been implemented, and other things like that as well. So if you have a look at the report, the first thing that you notice is the artworks are absolutely beautiful. The table of contents, like what is the Ethereum Foundation, EF activities and spending, the ecosystem rises, and then there's conflicts of interest policy, which is a new thing, and team descriptions as well. So it gives you an overview of everything. Like I said, the artwork is absolutely stunning, and they did a really beautiful job with this. It's just like an absolute pleasure to just have a look at, let alone read. In terms of reading, there's actually some really good information here about like where the spending has been going, like L1 R&D, L2 R&D, for example, new institutions, community development, and then internal and external. So they spent $105 million. This has come up because of people wanting to see those numbers and really see, what's going on with Ethereum Foundation and spending. And I think that having this out there now is actually really good, and hopefully it will come out in the next, every year for the foreseeable future, forever, basically. This, like I said, this is absolutely fantastic. So I'm really happy that they put this out. It's got really good content in there. So if you want to go and have a look at it, definitely go and check it out. The link, as always, is in the description below. On that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocketfuel community. I hope you all had a lovely weekend. I know the price action was spectacular. Let's actually just have a quick look at the Bitcoin, the price one more time. Maybe it's gone up. I don't know, since I've been recording. It's actually gone down a tiny bit. Bitcoin's gone down to 84,300, and ETH is at $3,282. So yeah, prices are looking really good. I hope you all enjoy this week ahead. I hope you all enjoy this year coming up. It's really funny because in crypto, like we always, there's this meme of the 4-year cycle, and people always say things like, oh, it's not going to work forever. It's not going to happen again. And people just buy and hold. And like in, 4 years time, you're going to be up compared to where you were. And, I'm not saying that it's going to happen again, but it's looking like everything is getting ready for 2025 to be an extremely positive and big year in crypto. So definitely plan accordingly, and I hope it's a good one for all of us. But yeah, thanks everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.